Alright, welcome back to another episode of Fast Break Lip NBA Podcast. It's your boy Samuel here. I got with me my boy Ryan, aka SwayReportingLive. Say what's up to the people.
What's up? It's been a rough couple of days for me, but let's get this thing going.
Alright, we're going to talk about some playoff basketball. Right now, we're recording this right after Kawhi's legendary Game 6 performance to bring the series back home, tied 3-3, winner take all on Sunday. Right now, we're recording this right after that game. So, I mean, what are your first impressions right after this game?
Well, to be fair, let me let the people know that I did miss the first half, but
Yeah,
I was able to watch a great second half. When I watched it, I believe the Clippers were up 3, clinging to a single digit lead. But after watching that third and fourth quarter, man, Kawhi. That is why I picked the Clippers to win this series. I felt he probably would have put his stamp on this series, and I think every game he scored over 30 points, if I'm correct. But it was great to see. In terms on the Clippers side, Kawhi is clearly going to show up every game. Reggie Jackson seems to be taking the bulk of the shots when Kawhi isn't taking the shot. Maybe that's a thing that Dallas has implemented defensively. PG, I'm not going to say the lights are bright, but you're starting to see him struggle in these type of moments. I'm not saying
he did have a good recovery in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he had a couple recovery buckets or plays, assists that he had, but it's like when these games come, you can just see it kind of affect him. I don't know if that's a new thing with Paul George, but that's that. On the Dallas side, Luka didn't have a great game. Down the stretch,
That fourth quarter was rough.
Yeah, down the stretch, he looked a little passive. The announcer said it, talking about how he was trying to not hog the ball down the stretch, but at that point, when the game is in a balance like that, you're the best player. If you got to create for somebody, that's fine. But if you passing up open drives to the basket, which I felt he did a couple times down the stretch when it was still a 2-possession game, 1-possession game, you got to take that shot. And that's kind of the young player growing pains with him. Because, I mean, Tim Hardaway did have a 20-something point game. Porzingis was kind of MIA. I mean,
he was awful.
Yeah, he was MIA for most of this series, in my opinion. It seems like Porzingis is no longer a second option. He's more like a glorified role player at this point. Like for real though. Like Tim Hardaway. Like we forget. I mean, I'm not gonna say we, but most basketball fans forget that when Kristaps got traded to Dallas, Tim Hardaway was in that trade, if I'm correct. And Tim Hardaway looks like the better player, at least in this series.
Doesn't even look like he is the better player at this point. Like,
so yeah, like I mean, that's my takeaway. It's great to see a Game 7. I kind of expected this from the Clippers, but I'm not gonna lie, I thought Dallas was gonna win this series, at least based on the last 2 games. But of course, one more game left. And I mean, I'm gonna just stick with my pick, Clippers. But I would not be mad if they lose. But at the same time, I won't be. It's just yeah, Clippers in 7. I'll say it. I'll keep my pick. I'm not too surprised about what happened just now.
Well, it's time for me to talk my shit.
Mm-hmm.
Porzingis, just awful, trash basketball player. Like, I am so glad that my team traded him. Like, I was one of the few people that was actually happy when we traded him, because I was just tired of the constant like complaining and crying and whining that he did, as if he was like some savior to our city. Like, he did something here. He did nothing. He's never gonna do anything. He's 7'3" for no reason. Like, he'd had 7 points and like 5 rebounds in 30 minutes of gameplay today. Like, bro, this is a win in advance game, and you just disappeared, and you're the biggest guy on the court besides Boban.
Took 7. Even Boban took more shots than him.
Yeah, like ridiculous. Like he's averaging 12. He's averaging 12.7 points per game in this series, 4.5 rebounds, 1.3 assists, and he can't even create his own shot. And he's like barely passable on defense. Like he's just all around awful. And like people were so anxious to slander the Knicks for trading him, calling him Max Kellerman on first take saying, oh, he could be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he could be the best player in the league. Like all these ridiculous takes were flying out the window, um closing the door on the Knicks. And here we are now. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's the Tim Hardaway Jr. trade now." No, it's the Kristaps Porzingis trade,
Yeah, it's
and he
definitely still
sucks.
them.
He sucks. So like, keep that same energy y'all had. Like y'all were making fun of the Knicks. Like keep that same energy. Make fun of the Mavericks when they're about to trade him too, because they're definitely gonna do that this offseason. Because he's garbage and he's wasting Luca and Tim Hardaway's time. Like they're over here putting in buckets and he's over here just running around doing cardio for 30 minutes on the court and maybe catching a rebound or so. Like
One thing I'll say
ridiculous.
one thing I'll say before we move on is he's not playing like a 7'3" guy.
He
He's
plays like he's a shooting guard. Like
yeah, like just taking straight jumpers. Um, to his defense, he was smaller in his career, so I kind of get that type of play style. But he did bulk up these past 2 years, so I thought with that added muscle on your body, you would get a little bit more physical. But he seems to be
mindset mindset is still soft.
yeah, like
Still soft.
he's still begging for these calls every time he goes to the rim. Granted, he might get the contact and not the foul, but if you're a big man, power forward at 7'3", it looks like Boban plays more physical than you, and
Yep.
Boban barely gets PT. So if Dallas wants to win that game 7, man, Porzingis is gonna have to hit 20. Like I believe he's gonna have to hit 20 along with Tim Hardaway's 15 to 20, and hope that Doncic has an efficient game, high 20s, high 10s and assists. So that's what's gonna have to take, because if Kawhi gonna get 40 every night in an elimination game, then it's goodbye.
Yep. $28 million they're wasting on this giant ass loser, yo. Like it's just ridiculous. One thing, Luca's not safe from slander too. He in the fourth quarters of this series, at least before tonight, averaging 2.4 points per game on 22% from the field and 17% from three in the fourth quarter
Mm-hmm.
of of this series, and that's awful. That's
Yeah,
awful.
I chalk that up to shot selection. He's kind of
Shot
not.
selection and just like I think he's fatigued from this play style that he plays
Oh yeah,
for
but he brings
throughout
that
the whole
upon
game.
himself. As great as he is as a third-year player, he's brought that on himself, because as soon as he got into the league, he almost became the franchise. Like, I'm not almost, but he is the franchise now. And ever since coming into the league, he's taken broad shoulders from being at the 3 spot to being at the point guard position now. Yeah, like everything's on him, ball in his hands, and the way the team is constructed, outside Tim Hardaway and maybe even Finney Smith, who's been knocking down 3-pointers, he's not really getting much production. So that's gonna have to be a thing whenever their season is over, to look at like who's gonna help Luka. They're gonna have to look at that after this series is done, or even after their playoffs is done, if they decide to get past the Clippers.
Yeah, for sure. On the Kawhi side, because I didn't get to say how I felt about his game. I mean, like the shots that he was taking. Like, first of all, he was hunting Luca
Yeah, I think
on
this is the first time in the series I've seen it.
and like that's when you know like Kawhi is in a zone. Like he was actively like hunting an opponent, and like even after that, he just like was like, whoever's on me, you getting it. Like step backs for all of y'all, and he was cashing them. And like there was one play where he mixed Dorian Finney-Smith, and I've never seen
Yo,
Kawhi mix somebody before with like
between
his
the
whack
legs,
handles. Like
yeah, it's not even the handle; it's the fact that he got just big ass hands. And
yeah, and like he was able to like use the momentum and like it was just a it was just weird seeing Kawhi just mix somebody like that. And like he just had it going and they needed every single one of his buckets down the stretch because like
mhm.
their offense was so stagnant because like they were getting quality looks with like Kennard in the corner and stuff and like Reggie Jackson, but like no one was hitting anything in like the third and fourth quarters. So it was
Yeah,
like Kawhi just realized what time it was. He was like, all right, I'm not going home to these boys. So he turned up, and it was just a masterful performance. Like the shots that he was taking, I haven't seen him like this aggressive with his shots since like probably
I'd say
20
Toronto.
the Toronto series that he was playing in.
Yeah,
Yep.
because that's when.
Especially against Milwaukee.
Yeah, because on Toronto, he was the only like legitimate one option. Like he ain't have a Paul George. Yeah, he had Fred VanVleet, who had a crazy playoffs that year. But
And Lowry and Siakam. But
yeah, like
yeah, he was hunting a shot for real in those
mhm.
Toronto series. So I mean, props to Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi, you know you're gonna get with Kawhi. I mean, hopefully they take advantage of this window right now. It looks like there's a very if they get past the the Mavericks, it seems like they can have a decent run to the finals at least. I think.
Yeah.
So let's get to the other LA team that wasn't able to force a game
Man.
seven.
Man. uh,
So first of all, like shout out to Devin Booker. Like
oh yeah,
that
for sure.
that man is just like gifted, a
Gifted
gifted basketball
offensively.
player.
He's what you call a killer. Because even when he was losing, of course, we always knew Devin Booker as someone that couldn't get into the playoffs. But
Yeah.
of course,
I
that
mean,
was
his squad
because
was
of
whack back then, but
yeah. It's because of the acquisition of parts around him. He was the only bright spot for a good number of years. But we always knew he was a bucket getter, and it was on the biggest stage these last 6 games.
yep, and he showed out. I mean, like that first quarter was just something special. Like
Yeah, 6 for 6.
22 points on like 8 for 9 shooting, 6 for 6 from three, I think it was.
Yeah,
And like he just had a look in his eyes, like he smelt the blood in the water. He was like, "It's a wrap. Let's end this tonight." And you know, Lakers, they look shook. They look shot. I don't know what doctor cleared Anthony Davis to play,
himself,
but
himself. There was no doctor. It was himself.
like he has no. If it was himself, he has no one to blame. Can't sue for no medical malpractice because my man's was looking limpy and gimpy out there, and they attacked him every single possession.
Yeah, off
And
the first possession. Yeah, first
and
possession.
then one possession he finally came down wrong, and then that was it. He could not go on any
Yeah,
longer. And I mean,
that was when Devin Booker decided to go left. And usually when Devin goes left, he pulls up for a jumper. But this time,
he
with
was
the
like,
switch,
"Nah, I'm going for the rack."
yeah, he's going to the rack when he saw the switch on him. This was probably the third time he had that switch, that Anthony Davis switch. And the first one, he caught him on a side step back to the right. AD couldn't contest, too slow. And then right to the rack. What this is how I knew it was kind of over for at least AD, even though I knew he shouldn't be in the game, period. As soon as like AD usually challenges layups at the rim, even when he's beaten off the dribble.
Hmm.
But as soon as Devin jumped in the air and he tried to jump too, he didn't even put a hand up. Like if you watch the replay, he just jumps and then keeps his hands down and just looks for the landing because as I guess midair he felt it. He's like, nah, this ain't it. So, after that he comes down wrong and he just throws the ball down. I think Devin got fouled on that play, so it was a free throws for a couple, and then after that he just sat on the baseline and it was pretty much over after that. Took him out the game. But in reference to the Lakers season, how bad we looked. Um, with me having a night to think about it, because I was very upset last night. I was very like for real. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. Like as a fan, I was upset because I'm looking at all the social media and looking at all the reactions, and it's like, damn, like I get it. The hate is real. Some people want to see LeBron lose. Some people just don't like the Lakers. Some people just don't like Laker fans or LeBron fans. I get it. That's sports.
And then some people's just getting back for all the because a lot of Warriors fans they had to deal with LeBron fans and Lakers
Yeah.
fans killing them for like Steph's
So
injury
yeah, so
and
I
like
get it.
it was a little get back session.
It was get back session, but at the same time, you got to realize, like, I don't, I definitely still expected the Lakers to win. Why? Because I thought at least AD would still be some type of healthy. Of course, once that groin injury came, because we haven't recorded since at least game 2. But once that groin injury came, I looked at it as this is a lose-lose situation. Because one, if the Lakers win this game and go to game 7, right? There's another debate of will Anthony Davis play or not. I don't think he was gonna play. I don't think he should have played game 6. But let's say we won game 6 without him and he came back for game 7 and we win game 7, we're gonna have to do this all over again against Denver. And the way Denver was playing, they might as well have really about to light us up from 3, or at least light us up, period. So
Yeah.
the Lakers were in a lose situation because their second best player would still be hobbled with an injury almost more nagging than the one he had earlier in the season. And then the best player on the team just isn't at full speed. You can tell LeBron is not at full speed. I was on record of saying he's coasting, which I believe he was, because you can't put all that effort offensively. I'm not saying you shouldn't be giving effort, but you can't put all that strength into getting buckets and then you can't guard on the other end, and then you can't set up everybody else. LeBron, uh it's being a LeBron fan sucks in this point because he was deferring. Like, all right, guys, let's go, let's
Super
go.
passive. He
Like,
was he was trying to do that, oh, let me get everyone else involved thing, and like, dude, you see the squad you have around you. You think Kyle Kuzma is gonna like get your team rolling in game 6 in the playoffs? Like,
don't get it twisted though. Earlier, I know this is regular season, but what people forget was we were on a roll before the James Harden trade. Like, literally on a roll. Like, I wholeheartedly believe this team still could have got to the finals, but it was just a difference in energy compared to mid-season and then playoffs. Like, once, because I never forget it. LeBron and the Lakers literally embarrassed the Rockets that night, hitting turnaround 3-pointers and whatever. Next few days, James Harden gets traded to Brooklyn, and then probably a couple of weeks later, I forgot what you call it. Anthony Davis goes down first. Then after that, LeBron goes down with thanks to Solomon Hill. So the season really flipped in about 3 weeks, and after those injuries, you can just tell they were never the same again. This sounds like an excuse, but it's just facts.
Well, it sounds like an excuse because Lakers fans was talking hot on Twitter, like, "Yo, we about to run through the
Yeah,
West. We about to
yeah,
repeat, blase, blase, blah. We about to smoke the Suns. This,
because
that, and
that
the
was the
third."
impression. That was the impression that even though we came back a little hobbled, we weren't expecting another injury. Like, LeBron, at the end of the day, people can say what they want about LeBron, but a hobbled LeBron still puts fear in people's eyes. So that's, as soon as Anthony Davis goes down, it's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we got one. You feel me? So it hurts as a Laker fan and as a LeBron fan just to see the slander, because it's like, bro, all right, we lost in the first round, finally. Now y'all can't say that about us, but don't make it seem like we weren't the best team in the league at one point while healthy. Clippers aside, Brooklyn Nets aside, because one thing people also forget, Brooklyn did all season. Brooklyn just got healthy. That's all they did all season. Kevin Durant goes down a couple of times. James Harden tweaks a hamstring. He decided to he started to not play for about 20 games. Kyrie in and out of the lineup. So don't get it twisted. Brooklyn got healthy all season, and they're probably going to reap the benefits of that. Knock on wood. But just to keep it on the Lakers side, it's sad they didn't look good after Game 5. I kind of, at least halfway through Game 5, I'm like, yeah, y'all dudes don't want to be here no more, because AD's gone, LeBron's by himself, and then the other guys, once they not going, LeBron sees that and he's like, oh, time to pout. Like, when he starts doing that, not getting back on defense and just like looking at the ref like,
Yeah,
really,
he
like,
be that's when he gives up.
yeah,
He's
like
like, "I'm done."
that's the literal like sign over the past few years. Once he doesn't get back on defense at least 2 possessions in a row that they don't make a bucket, it's like, up.
And there was one possession yesterday where he didn't even get back on offense. Like, he just stayed
Yeah,
in the backcourt. Like,
because
I was like, I was like, okay, dude.
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen LeBron look like this, like really, like I'm done since last year in Cleveland, maybe, and then even before that, I probably haven't seen that since last year in Miami, where he's just like, you know what, all right, guys, this ain't it. Y'all not here, then fuck it, I'm not gonna be here. Excuse my language, but like, it's a bad hit. Duh, does he look worse as a player legacy wise after this? I don't think so.
Nah, not really, but it's still like it still looks bad when you like give up on the court and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, for sure.
Cause like, first of all, my thing with this Lakers team, it was always poorly constructed.
You think
I
so?
think, yeah, especially like it's poorly constructed because it's solely dependent on the fact that Anthony Davis and LeBron are healthy. If one of the two are not healthy, the roster just doesn't work. So those two have to be healthy at all times for the roster to work at its utmost capacity. So like once AD went out, like you have a bunch of either scared or mid shooters around LeBron, and like you got like washed Mark Gasol, who's like still somewhat useful.
I
You got
never
Andre
liked that
Drummond.
acquisition.
You got Andre Drummond, who's whack. You got Montrezl Harrell, who's unplayable in the playoffs, basically. Like it was just a recipe for like a disaster. And like you had LeBron and AD to shore up all those mistakes, and like you had KCP going cold. You had Wes Matthews going cold. You had Dennis Schroeder, who's just turned into a whack basketball player in the playoffs. Like all of those things would have been masked. I can't even speak. Masked if LeBron and AD were healthy, and they weren't. So a lot of those discrepancies and a lot of those weaknesses were brought to the light. That's why I just thought like this roster was never going to be fully utilized, especially once one of the two were either gimpy or hurt, because that's it at that point.
Yeah, what they missed or what the lesson that they learned in comparison to last year's championship team was size and the dominance of their size. JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard were very big key parts in this. And you saw it when AD wasn't in the game, DeAndre Ayton had a field day, at least for the
Yeah.
most part that he was when he was in the game. And I was never a big fan of the Marc Gasol acquisition when we first got him. I looked at
Well,
him as,
Marcus Gasol's actually our best big, to be honest, because
yeah, I
like
mean,
he's the best defender, he's the best passer, he's
I
the
don't
best
know about
shooter.
I don't know about best defender because they cooked him on the pick and roll
Well,
last.
yeah, in the pick and roll he's awful, but like as a rim protector, he's the best one y'all
Yeah,
got.
yeah, he's the best one we had, but that's the problem. Our old Marc Gasol is the best rim protector we had.
Exactly, and that's my point of like the flaws in this roster. Like they were all masked when AD and LeBron are healthy, because you have AD as part of that back line too, so that way you don't have to rely on Mark all the time. So it's like Mark
But
is just there as like insurance.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I said this last time. Montrezl Harrell got to get some PT though. Undersized, I don't care, but like you gotta.
He's even worse in like the pick and roll, and I mean he gives you energy and all that, but we saw what the Nuggets did to them last year. He diced them
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
Like
they diced him up, but the only way Montrez is able to be Montrez is him getting a chance to showcase that energy. He became unplayable last year because the Clippers just said, you know what, we're gonna go small with Dallas. The Lakers could have still went semi small within the line with him in the lineup, but Frank Vogel just didn't decide to play him. I get it, he's undersized, but you can't go like the way the season has gone. You have to prepare those guys that are below AD, even below LeBron. Like all those guys, they can't just sit on the bench, you know, talking trash or just lifen up the team. You have to at least put them in the game. And Montrez, yes, undersized, but at the end of the day, he won sixth man of the year for a reason. So at least
I
put
mean
him in the game.
that was regular season hoops for Montrez when he won that though. So
I mean, regular season hoops is regular season hoops, but at the end of the day, postseason is where you elevate, and we haven't had a chance to see Montrez elevate in a Lakers jersey. So the Clippers is the one thing. Like I get it, he got baked last season from the Clippers in the postseason, but it's a different team and a different mindset. You have to at least put him in the game. Like at the end of the day, you putting in Marc Gasol, who's an older guy. Yeah, he stretches the floor, but he can't do nothing defensively. and then you got Drummond, who was unplayable for 2 games, if I'm correct, just because.
Unplayable in general because he's just awful, awful
And then
finisher, awful defender.
you just don't play him, and then look, you got 80 out, and then you don't even play Montrez until you're down 30. Like, I don't, that mindset doesn't make sense to me. At least go down swinging with everybody in your toolbox. But that's the Lakers losing this year. I mean, I wasn't surprised, but the way it happened surprised me. But I'm not mad. These guys just came off of a finals and they just didn't have it. You can see their bodies just didn't have it. So it is what it is. On to the next season. You got to retool. See, you got to look in the mirror. If you're LeBron James, you got to look in the mirror. If you're Anthony Davis, why you hurt all the time? And
Anthony Davis can't even help it anymore. Like that's just
you,
part of him.
I don't
Like
think. I mean, he can't help it, but he could minimize the ticky tack. Like, it's literally, there's some injuries where he goes up and comes down, and he's
I don't
just.
know. Maybe he needs to take better care of his body or something. But like, yeah, what this has shown me is like as LeBron gets older, and like he's accumulating more mileage on his body, and like of course these injuries are going to help as well. Um, they need someone else to like help out in the scoring department because you have you need someone to like you can't have LeBron do carry jobs anymore now
That's
at
a
this
fact.
point in his career.
No
So
more
you
Kevin.
need someone else to like help him carry that load. And Anthony Davis isn't if he's not healthy enough to do that, you need to find someone else that can help shore that along. Or else you're going to end up in situations like this far more often because you can't really rely on Anthony Davis because he's such a risk.
I think he is a risk, but I just feel like it was emphasized this year with the quick turnaround and then condensed games, and then I don't think he himself got fully healthy after the bubble, because remember, he was a little injured and nicked up in the bubble. Just,
Yeah.
he did have a couple lower leg injuries, but he probably himself never got fully healthy. In terms of LeBron, we saw that he was able to at least have his body come back to a certain point where it's like, okay, I won't get injured again, but I'm gonna still be hobbled until I get healthy. AD got injured again and then again and then again. So there's something going on there. The Lakers gonna have to fix that. Shout out the Suns for real, because CP3 was also injured, came back, and even though he only had like 8 points last game, those were probably the biggest of them all were probably the 6 or 4 he scored in the fourth quarter, along with those few assists.
Yeah. Those were
So,
key buckets.
so at the end of the day, CP3 was able to play through those injuries, or at least still be playable while injured on the court. And that's all you can ask for from one of your best players. And the Suns were able to do that. They're going to look great going into this next series.
Yeah, they got all the confidence. Their young guys are super confident right now because they've been able to showcase that they can like especially their wings, like Mikal, Cam,
Yeah, Mikal can't shoot
Craig,
a shot, man.
Crowder, they all feel confident now heading into this Nuggets series because they've been able to like battle against LeBron and AD for however long they've been able to battle against those guys in that series. And they're gonna feel really confident going against this shorthanded Nuggets team who put the beats on um on Portland these last couple games. So it's gonna be a very fun series because it's like these playoffs have become more fun in general because like there's just a lot of these younger guys taking over now. Like you got all these young stars that have taken over since the first round. You got like Ja, Trey, Book, Tatum, Jokic, Mitchell. You got all these young guys coming up and they're taking over as all these older guys are.
Yeah, we're in that phase where it was about let's call it between '07 to 2010, where we were now getting the new superstars as the older guys from the '90s started to fade away. Just like how like in '07 and '08, I think if I'm correct, KD got drafted like '08. Uh,
07, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So like, and then around that time, LeBron was in the playoffs, D Wade was in the playoffs, Carmelo was battling with Kobe in the West. Like,
Yeah.
so this is it's been about some time now. So now this is the year of those young guys that were drafted about 3-4 years ago, if their teams did good by them, they're now in the playoffs. So hey, it's beautiful to watch. But it's hard to watch if your favorite player is getting old.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the young guys, they're showing out. They're part of the social media era, so they're gonna make sure that they talk their trash and then give it to you on the court. Um, but yeah, I mean, let's talk about how your Knicks your Knicks. 'Cause I see you ducking that
Nah, I
topic.
was that was actually my next topic. So yeah. Um,
I'm gonna let you take over for that one.
my Knicks, they lost in what you call it in five. Not the way we wanted to go out. I rather if we were gonna lose, we go out in six. At least take care of things on the home court. We came out. Offense was a little bit better this in that final game, but it still felt like a little like I still had that eerie feeling like this is like not gonna be good enough. Um, Trey didn't even have a good game too. Like he was like doing all these theatrics at the end of the game, but like he was doing his fouling BS this game. He kept it honest hoops for like most of the series, which I give him props for. But like that last game was just a shit show of like the refs being on BS. And I'm not saying that's the reason why we lost, but like that type of stuff kind of bothers you while you're already losing. Like there's no reason for the extra help. But yeah, he didn't even have a good game, and like I felt like that was our perfect opportunity to take advantage of things. But yeah, this series kind of revealed some things about the Knicks going forward. I mean, they're a young team for a lot of these guys getting their first taste of the playoffs. But there was a talent discrepancy between the two teams that just wasn't really accounted for during the regular season. And just like defensive scheme wise, Nate McMillan flooded the strong side every time Julius caught the ball. So he basically didn't have much passing lanes or much like lanes in general to like score. And like Julius, he kind of like made things worse for himself by overthinking things and like just like being kind of like lazy or sloppy with certain decisions that he was making. But like Thibs also didn't do him any favors in this series, I feel like, because like I have been pleading on Twitter for since like game two, go small because Capella's ignoring Noel. Please put someone out on the floor that he has to honor from at least 15 to 20 feet out. Like even if he's not gonna space the floor, like put someone out there that's gonna like make Capella have to honor him. And like Thibs never did that. And that's part of the reason why Thibs gets a bad rep is because like he's one of those coaches that's like really rigid and really stubborn, and like he really won't change things unless it's like really desperation mode. Like he did make some changes, like he took Alfred out of the rotation a little too late, I think it was,
Really
because
took him
like
out of the rotation.
yeah, like he took him out of the rotation after like 1.5 games of him playing like absolute garbage, and like we could have won game one if we started off with like Derrick Rose minutes probably, or even quickly minutes. Um, but yeah, like he waited too long to adjust and like have Taj and Derrick Rose start. He waited too long to have Reggie put on Trey. I mean, I don't think that really mattered that much because Trey still got what he wanted regardless, and that speaks to like the talent that we have on our team defensively that we need to improve with a better point of attack defender. Um, but yeah, I mean, they this is what the Hawks spent their money on. Like they went out in free agency, they spent their cash. Um, they paid Bogdanovich and Gallinari for long term deals. They have Capella on like a solid 2 or 3 more years, I think. They're gonna have to pay Trey and John Collins really soon, or like this offseason at least. So like they had to pay to make this team, and I mean the Knicks they grab guys on the bargain bin. A lot of these guys are on vet minimums, and like cheap deals. And we got a lot of guys on our rookie deals still. So I mean they paid for this team to get to where they are, and props to them for doing that. Although I hate majority of the players on their team, especially John Collins and Kevin Herter. But and Clint Capella. But
I mean,
yeah.
when we look at this series, though, you couldn't really take Capella out of the paint. I mean, unless he got somebody on a switch, that's one thing. But in terms of putting somebody in the game from the Knicks standpoint that would take out Capella from the paint,
Put in
I can't really see anybody. I mean, maybe Obi, but
Yes,
you
play
don't want you
Obi and
don't.
Julius at the 4 and the 5. I don't care what risk it
But
pertains on the defensive
you want
end.
Obi topping. You want Obi taking all those jump shots. That's what I was asking, because that's the
Yeah.
only way you're taking Capella out of the paint. You want him
I,
taking those jump shots.
I don't even think they put Capella on Obi. I think they probably put Capella on Julius. So
Yeah,
that's
but Julius, with Julius not playing as good as he was, especially since game 2, it's like he's not having a good shooting night. So even with Capella on him, I don't think he would have. I mean, stepping out, if he's literally man on man, I get it, because Julius can bring him to the top of the key and then create offense. But it's
it
like,
for me. It just opens up the floor because um with Noel in the paint, Capella just ignores him and then roams the baseline basically and just able to
nah,
move
yeah,
wherever.
he's doing a
If
lot of
you
wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So if you put like a Obi out there with Julius, the floor is spread out basically to 5 out basketball, and no one can stand in the paint because you're gonna get a 3 seconds. So I feel like that's the type of change that would have helped. It would have opened up the court for Julius, probably opened up more passing lanes, more driving lanes to score. Like they can't clog the paint if everyone's spread out across the 3 point line. So I just feel like changes like that would have made a difference, but I mean, we'll see what Thibs does next year with a probably reasonable talent upgrade on the roster.
Yeah, y'all got a
And
point guard on the way.
yeah, I mean, yeah, we have to upgrade the point guard spot. I think we also have to upgrade the starting wing spot next to RJ, whether it's the
Hmm.
2 or the 3. And then we gotta upgrade the bench a little bit, I think, as well. Just
Oh,
like
nah, nah, yeah.
add more creators and like hopefully quickly and RJ and Obi all take another leap in their development and looking at another playoff appearance next year. So I mean, the
Yeah,
future's bright on our end. We got tons of cap space. We got a whole bunch of draft picks. So
hopefully y'all use a cap space wisely.
I mean, we've been doing that the last couple of years. It's just been we've been spending on cheap deals. I think now is the time that we finally like
You might
cash
sign
in
somebody.
cash in on like longer term deals for more stability and more continuity.
But I mean, on the Atlanta side, this was a great first series for your young star in Trey Young. He took the battles, he took the jeers of Madison Square Garden, he took the pressure of having to beat an up and coming Knicks team as he is up and coming himself. So that is great to acknowledge. He has a tall task ahead of him in the next series.
I hope the
Especially,
Sixers smoke them. Oh my gosh.
I don't think that's gonna happen, buddy, just because of health. Hopefully Joel Embiid is healthy for most of this series, but if he's not, I believe Atlanta, Philly's on upset alert if Joel Embiid isn't properly healthy with that slight meniscus tear he got in his knee. Um,
I don't see it.
you don't see it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, the way Trey shoots the ball, and yes, Ben Simmons might have him on clamps for
Ben
a couple
Simmons,
games.
Thibault, Danny Green, they got
Uh,
multiple bodies throw at
yeah, they
him.
got
So
multiple bodies and scoring options just to combat that. But that's probably my upset alert of the second round. But
it seems like that's everybody's upset alert. I don't see it just because like they don't have someone on the inside like Capella. Okay, he can punish you, but like I feel like
they don't really
Capella's not
need anybody on
really.
the inside. All they got to do is drive to the rim. Because once if Joel, I'm only saying this if Joel is not in the game,
Oh, of
because
course.
without Joel, this team, the Philadelphia 76ers, at least offensively, is a lot more run and gun, which
Hmm.
plays to the advantage of Atlanta, because that's all they did with you guys when you guys tried to keep them in a half court setting. They were able to still run up and down.
Yeah.
So that's gonna play to their advantage. Would they be able to contain the guys like Tobias and others? That's to be seen because I know Tobias is on a mission lately.
Not even just like on a mission. Like, sure, you can say whatever you want about like Gallinari and Collins, how they guarded Randall. I don't think they'll be able to do that flood the strong side stuff against Philly, where they're able to like send guys to like roam, basically.
Yeah, because
Like,
they got Steph Curry and Danny Green ready to shoot.
exactly. So I feel like you have to honor those guys. Um, and then like I feel like Tobias can handle his own against Gallinari and John Collins. Like those guys are not
Oh yeah, easy.
threats on
Yeah, they're not.
defense.
Yeah,
Like
they're not threats, but
their numbers look better now in the playoffs on defense because
just because of what happened with the first round series. Yeah.
yeah, and they were able to like send doubles and triples, and those stats don't take it into account, which is so weird because like it makes Gallinari and Collins look like prime Iguodala from Golden State. Like it's ridiculous.
So but I mean, for Atlanta, they deserve this win. They were the better team in the first round.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's the same in the second. But just great things from Trey. Just another part of that young player tree that we've seen this whole first round playoffs that have put themselves on the map. But in terms of young players, would you like to go into Memphis, Utah, real quick?
Yeah, I mean that last game was just like a smoke session. It was a blowout. Like,
Little disrespectful, kind of.
yeah,
uh, I just I,
but
I just wanted to say that Utah definitely went undefeated since getting their superstar back. I
yep.
think that is that needs to be paid attention to a little bit more. Uh, Literally, as soon as they come back 4-0, Dylan Brooks looks like he can't like he couldn't shoulder the load of guarding their best player and then putting up 20. So that's kind of where I thought the series turned because Donovan Mitchell looked at that matchup and said, yo, you can't mess with me. So all that stuff we were talking in game one, try to back that up and he couldn't. So that's kind of why it was a quick series for me. Michael Conley probably took this series a little personal. Of
Of
course,
course.
with it being his older team, his team he's basically spent his whole career with. It looked like he was. I felt like he averaged about 20 and 10 all series. I could be wrong on that, but his assist numbers were very high, and he was actually inefficient for a guy that's been injured or just not really producing the way we thought he would on this Utah team. So it's great to see that. John Morant had a good coming out party first round, first
Yeah, he
playoff.
averaged 30 and 30 and 8, I believe it was.
Yeah, so that just shows he'll be back. And I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to say on it because the way Donovan just came out and said, "Let's shut that down right now." It's not surprising, but for those that were questioning if he was healthy, that's now out the window.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I caught a couple of these games. This wasn't one of my major series I was really tuning into just because I kind of had a feeling it was gonna end up like this, especially since Donovan came back. I was like, these games, I mean, they're gonna be close and they're probably gonna be really fun, but like at the end of these games, Utah really showed their like experience and like they shut everything down from Memphis in the fourth quarter for like games 3 and 4 at Memphis. Like Memphis was making like runs in the fourth quarter, and Utah at a certain point was like, "All right, we're the number one seed. We're not having this," and
Yeah,
they just shut everything down. They came down the other end. They just scored buckets. Memphis could not stop them, and it was wraps. And then they came back home for game 5, and
it was over.
they was like, y'all can't hang with us.
It was really over. Like probably they were kind of waiting on Steph, but once they realized Memphis was here, it was like, all right, let's get down to business. Let's not play with these boys too much. And whoever comes out of the Clipper Dallas series, this might be a 7-game series between whoever Utah plays.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that might go 7 regardless, even with them being the number one seed. The Clippers, we already know, can be a high force with when both of those guys are going. And then of course we see what Luka is doing, all this magic. Well, let's see if his magic runs out or not. But That whoever the Jazz play, 7-game series off the bat.
Yep, and I mean, um, with Memphis, they just gotta figure out how to keep building on this. I mean, the fun part is over now. They now will have expectations heading into next season. Same with a team like the Knicks. So
Mm-hmm.
the fun's over for now. There's expectations next year. So time to really pull up your bootstraps and get to work. So let's move on. All right, so last two series we gotta talk about. I mean, there's a lot of drama going on with these series. Do we want to go to Boston first?
With the way Boston lost.
Not even the way they lost. It's just like the stuff after that happened.
Oh, okay. With their coaching staff and okay. I mean, we could tap into that a little bit. I don't think it's a big it's a story though. How do I put it? Because it's like I don't know if I said it on my podcast or yours, but I did say that Brad Stevens. We don't know if his coaching style would be not his style, but his voice to those young guys were gonna be legitimate, at least stuck in their head. Because you clearly saw throughout most of this season that it was either Jason Tatum get buckets or Jaylen Brown. It didn't seem like it was a team effort. Um, of course, COVID really messed up all of their season, but
Mm-hmm.
with Danny Ainge stepping down from basketball operations, I kind of was not ready for that.
Yeah, that one caught me by surprise too. I was at work and then I peeped my phone and I was like, "Oh,
Oh, like it's that bad. And then to
yeah,
to make things kind of not worse but confusing is the fact that their head coach gets a promotion and gets that same position. I don't know how you do that. I guess because Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens had a working relationship, so I guess that's where that comes from. But bro, like what Stephen A. Look, I know Stephen A. gets a bad rap when he brings up race, but
yeah."
like
Because like other occasions, like he's really wishy washy on it, and
yeah, like I get that because 1 second he brings it up, 1 second he doesn't, or he just doesn't bring it up the way he usually does. But I do think he has a point here when he says like black head coaches not getting the same opportunity or just black head coaching staffs for people in front office because I cannot remember a time a team had a season like this. Their president of basketball operations steps down, and then the head coach goes to that position because he is quote unquote tired of coaching or tired of stress. Like that was reported.
yeah, I know. I saw that. When I saw that, I was
I'm like that's
okay,
so you were tired, so you got promoted to a lesser day to day job. That's crazy. Like that does not happen. I in all of my time of covering basketball, like we're just gonna stick to basketball because that's where we're at. So in my time of covering basketball, like legitimately looking at the ins and outs of basketball, I've never really seen that before or heard about it. So when you hear this, you have to kind of think about race. I don't want to make it all about it, but it's like you're never gonna see a black head coach go into that position. Doc Rivers, you're not seeing that. Ty Lue, I doubt you will ever see him go into a higher level position for the next 5 years because it just doesn't happen. They probably needed a
yeah,
scapegoat though, because at least who do you blame this season on? COVID. COVID ain't really a real thing, at least physically. It's more of a airborne type of thing, sickness. So you can't put all the blame on COVID. So it's like, what do you do? And I don't know where the Celtics go from here. Maybe Danny Ainge was just he probably looked at himself in the mirror and said, okay, I couldn't pull the trigger on some of these potential trades that I could have had over the couple of years. So maybe someone else could. But I don't know how that someone else can be the same guy that was just coaching these guys for the past 6 seasons. Like I don't everything about this confuses me. I don't know where the Celtics go after this. Um
yeah. They're
I don't
they're
know how you feel, but go ahead, yeah.
they're a weird situation. Going forward, like first I gotta see who the coach is. Then I gotta see the moves that Danny makes. Like who I mean not Danny. Oof, I'm so used to saying Danny. What
Yeah,
Brad
right.
makes. I had to see what moves Brad makes as like in regards to like who does he trade? If he trades Kemba seems cooked right now. He's had some good performances, but like he's almost always injured now. So there's that, and then we got to see what he does in the draft. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. We don't really see the head coach to president of basketball operations promotion that often. I think the last time that happened was with Danny Ainge himself in Phoenix. So it's not something that happens really often. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't even know what to make of it. Like I'm still at a loss of like what to really say about it, and like it's been a couple of days now. So
yeah, it's just one of those you have to see how it plays out because it's so fresh and the off season still
yeah,
is a ways to go. But we can move on straight to the Portland Denver series because I really don't have
yeah.
much to say on that.
And like speaking of Portland and Dame
Oh, so you saw that notification too?
from Chris Haynes,
Yeah.
it, Dame ain't serious, man. He ain't serious about winning, man.
Okay, so before we go in, do we want to talk about Dame specifically, or do we want to talk about the series first? Get that off the chest.
Yeah, we could talk about the series. I mean, Dame, he did his thing. That last game was pathetic by him.
I didn't
Like
really catch
especially
much of that last game. I just know that he ain't have some help. That's all I know.
um, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, that fourth quarter was abysmal by him. Like,
Oh, but folk, okay, all right. I mean, I know he didn't have a great game. I knew that, but I didn't. I wasn't really expecting a
and
great game.
and they smoked the lead too.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, I didn't know they had a lead in that game. But see, that's what happens when you can't play defense because leads are no
Worst
longer safe.
defensive rating, one of the worst defensive ratings in like league history they had this year.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's not surprising that they blew a lead. It's just that you just came off of a historic performance. What do you have left? And then you were on the road for that historic performance. And then the guys like CJ McCollum, guys like Robert Covington were not getting the job done, at least in that game.
yeah, in
So
that game they were. I mean,
yeah,
you have Dame giving you 55, hitting some of the craziest shots I've ever seen.
so some of these guys had shots at the rim and they couldn't make it. Like Covington missed 2 dunks point blank.
Covington thought he was Vince Carter and started cocking it back all the way, and I'm like, dude, just like dunk it
Just put
regular.
just put the ball in the basket. That's all we're asking. Just put the ball in the basket and we'll be okay. But that series though could have went either way because most of
Yeah,
these
like
games.
I think we said that like from the jump that like I had to wait to see a game first to make a prediction, and even then I
Yeah,
still
because
couldn't
one
make anything of it because
one
every game
team
was like a blowout.
one team would either win by 10 or it would come down the stretch for the next game, or then the other team would win by 20 later. Like it was really whoever's hot that day. Um
Yeah,
and granted to Denver, they won it in 6. Michael Porter Jr., thanks to, I'm not gonna say thanks because you never want to see a guy get injured, but um this is a result of Jamal Murray tearing his ACL. Michael Porter Jr. is now forced to really get buckets if they want to go far in the playoffs, and this might serve really nice for them next season. Uh, it might throw them off a little bit chemistry wise, but I believe the Nuggets can now say they have a possible big three in the making. If Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray can coexist offensively.
oh for sure. And like they've gotten like the last two games they've gotten like some really solid production out of um Austin Rivers and Monte Morris. And Monte Morris is one of my favorite backup guards in the league because like he's just so reliable,
Yeah, he's been
and
lit up since
like
he got in here.
yeah, and he just doesn't make mistakes. Like his assisted turnover ratio is like godlike. Like it's just and like game 5 he had 28 points. Game 6 to close out 22, both off the bench, 22 and 9 with 3 steals. in the closeout game. Like
He's an efficient guard.
super efficient.
He knows his job is
and,
to.
and he's able to do it in like a large capacity of minutes too, because like some guys you see they're efficient but like they don't play a lot of minutes, so like the
Mhm.
efficiency is kind of skewed. But with him, he's able to play a lot of minutes and still able to be really efficient, not turn over the ball that much. um Again, Austin Rivers had a good game in game 5. Game 6 wasn't so much. He hit one of those dagger threes down the stretch. um but him
As
and
he
like
should though.
And him and Aaron Gordon and Compazzo, they were just shooting the lights out of the ball in this series. Like, I don't know if it's going to keep up in that Phoenix series, but oof, we're going to see some
Yeah,
shootouts in that next round.
yeah, because it's gonna be a lot of buckets to be had, especially from teams that are not that good defensively. They're about middle of the pack, but those guys, if they can't play defense, one thing they can do is shoot the ball. Both of those teams,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be a light up series, possibly another 6-7. But of course, let's focus on Damian Lillard, the guy that got the short end of the stick.
Well, first
Uh,
I got to give props to Jokic because everyone was saying Jokic is going to be one of the worst MVPs we've had in like 50 years, but like
I don't
every
know how one
year,
can say that.
yeah, on Twitter they were going crazy about it, but like every year this man elevates his game in the playoffs where his scoring goes up, rebounds, assists, efficiency. Like that man is just like a special talent, and like I just understand how people in the league just don't appreciate that. He's like bordering on like a top five player in the league. And like, I mean, game 6 closeout 36 8 and 6 on
Mhm.
59% from the field, 50% from three. And in that game 5 performance, in that double overtime game, he had like 38, 11, and 9, 4 blocks, 45% from the field, 33% from three. I mean, what more can you ask for an MVP candidate on a team with his number 2 out?
Uh, yeah, like exactly. Number two option out. Forced to more. He's getting more attention on defense.
Yep.
Even when even though people are playing him on the pass, he's still he's still passing people open and then getting his 30. What I've realized, probably to your point earlier where you said people are not really appreciating, or is probably not appreciating the MVP that he's about to get, is possibly because he's one thing about this league is you get the attention that you bring on yourself
Mm-hmm.
based on what you say post game, or just how are how you are as a player. We know Jokic as I come to work, I get the job done, and then I leave. He's not really a boisterous person. He's not talkative. He's just, I get the job done. Excuse me. So that's probably why you may think, or some people don't really like the fact that he might win MVP, is because he's not boisterous with his play or his demeanor persona. So, but that every superstar is different.
Yeah.
So he's able to just come in the game and pick you apart. I said it before. His IQ is what's underrated. Probably not his MVP, but not as much as his MVP, but his IQ is just like almost second to none. Like, people are not realizing how easy it is for him on offense now. Like,
Yeah, the game is like super easy for him.
it's really too easy.
Too easy.
And people are probably now getting to see that on the national stage. If you didn't know that before, you probably wasn't watching basketball for the past couple of years. But yo, like, Jokic is the real deal. He's solidifying his MVP, and it's like, what else can you ask for? Your number two guy goes down, and your number one raises his level of play. That's what you want in a playoff setting, especially when you're hobbled. And he can make a finals run without his second best player. So we'll see how that goes, though. I'm not gonna say too much on that because we still have predictions to possibly go through and all that other stuff. So Jokic, yeah, to top it off, Jokic really. I don't know how Jokic doesn't get the respect from everybody in this league after this. if he hasn't had it already.
Yeah. So let's get to Dame.
Mm, 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 mm.
So he does this thing this series. I mean, that last game, like I said, came up kind of short. They blew that lead. Down the stretch, he was missing a lot of clutch baskets he usually makes. Maybe he ran out of gas. Who knows? Averaged like 34.3 points per game this series. 10.2 assists. So he was doing his thing. But that last game, it was a bit rough, like I said. Um, and this probably is gonna be the last time we see him, CJ, Nurkic, that core group of guys together, maybe.
Oh,
Especially based on Nurkic's comments.
Nurkic got baked in this series too. Oh man.
Yeah, he got toasted because he's just a bad defensive big. Like he's awful. Like,
Oh,
but
just a quick sidebar. If for those
mhm.
that remember, Nurkic was on the team, was on Denver when they got. I don't know if they drafted Nurkic and Jokic together, but regardless,
I think one was the year before or something like
yeah.
that. But
So Denver had decided to pick Jokic and trade away Nurkic to Portland, and look how much it paid dividends years.
looks like it worked out pretty well for
Yeah,
Denver.
but that's what I'm saying. But yeah, you could go ahead on the Dame thing.
But yeah, Nurkic's comments after the game, he basically was like, "I'm on a non-guaranteed contract," so his comments basically sounded like he wasn't gonna be back on the team.
Hmm.
So it looks like Portland may do a small mini blow up rebuild, but I don't even know
Yeah.
because as of today, Terry Stotts is no longer their coach. It says they mutually agreed to part ways, but that just code word for he was fired. Um, and they're saying Dame is going to have a say in the head coaching decision. And about I want to say like 20 minutes ago,
Hmm.
Damian Lillard's guy is Jason Kidd, out of all people.
Okay. In reaction to, of course, Dame losing and all of this turnover, first Terry Stotts was let's call it. I mean, Terry Stotts has been there for as long Damian Lillard has been there. I think 9 years,
Mm-hmm.
or the year before he was or drafted. But regardless,
Oh, we got another notification as we are recording right now
I didn't even get it yet. Hold on, what you talking
from
about?
Shams. Okay, so Portland Trailblazers are increasingly expected to hire Clippers assistant Chauncey Billups or Lakers assistant Jason Kidd.
Oh wow! See, the Chauncey Billups one has been floating in the air.
That one makes more sense than Jason Kidd.
I mean, yeah, in terms of play style of the two different former NBA players.
Not even that, but just like the coaching of Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's like has a horrible track record of as coach. Like,
I mean, with the Brooklyn teams Jason Kidd had, I didn't really know if you really want to put that all on him. I mean, how long was he coaching there for? About 2 years, 3 years, if I remember correctly.
1 or 2 years, I think it was.
Yeah,
But
it wasn't that long. But in
what
them
he what
firing Terry Stotts, I felt like that was just a scapegoat thing because you can't really put that on
um,
anybody else.
I think Blazers fans have been calling for their coach to be fired for years. So I think this has been something in the works for a while, and it just took long enough. It took enough first round exits for it to finally happen. And I think Stotch just like he probably just lost that locker room. I mean, it's probably stale hearing the same guy tell you the same stuff for like 9 years. So it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And they probably were just like, we need to get this dude out of here. Like, and it's just not working.
But
And
even with a coaching change, though, like you said, you don't see Nurkic being here. You cannot trade Dame, at least at this point, because his contract doesn't. I think his contract just kicks in that max contract that he signed.
I believe
So
so.
because he I don't think he's a unrestricted free agent till about after the 2023 season, if I'm correct. So it's like you can't trade him now if unless he really forces a trade. And then what else are you gonna do? You're gonna have to trade away the parts around him, or at least try to. What are you gonna get for CJ? I don't really know. What are you gonna get for everybody else on that squad? Not much, unless you're exchanging role players at this point with other teams. So the coaching change, at least it looks good in terms of you're trying to make a change and you're giving him a Cersei and like, okay, I want this coach or this is what I think you guys should go after. But in terms of personnel, I don't see this team making big changes for him. Like seriously.
There's not much they can do anyways. Like, honestly, my conclusion that I came to is they need to just blow it up. There's no point. They know what this team, what their peak is. It's Western Conference Finals exit. They've peaked already. It's done. Portland, blow it up. Dame, time to run from the grind. I know you have this thing about loyalty. It's all BS. It needs to stop. Just please spare everyone and just save that franchise from itself and just skate, my guy. Just like request a trade, please. Don't do this.
Uh I don't know, man, because I don't know what team Dame can go to, at least trade wise, that will be able to eat up the money. Well, not really eat it up, but in terms of exchange the same amount of contracts and still be able to win. Like, I'm really trying to think. The Knicks, you can't. I know the Knicks have been floating in the air because they're good
Yep.
again, but I don't think that's a good. If you're really being realistic, Damian Lillard, at least at this point in his career, to the Knicks doesn't work financially for you guys because he will just be there with a bunch of young guys, and it's not gonna work.
Well, I mean, financially it works if you like, because we do have cap space, so we can like send out some young player contracts, first round picks,
I mean,
and
you could send those out, and then what do you sign? Who are you getting to put alongside him? Because
see, that's the thing. A lot of Knicks fans, like, this has been a huge debate today because Knicks fans. The thing about Knicks fans on Twitter is don't give us a day off with no games, especially with our team not playing, because madness will ensue.
nothing,
Like,
nothing but rumor central.
one rumor comes out and it is a civil war on the timeline about who should be included in what hypothetical trade for a player that hasn't even axed out yet. Like, it's just insanity. Like, today I was just scrolling down Twitter and I was just like, oh boy, it's one of those days, huh? It's a slow news day. And one rumor came out from not even I wouldn't say it's a qualified source or anything. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, you really believe in Stephen A. Smith after all the BS he's been spewing for all these years about
I know
certain.
where you're going with this. I watched that live.
Yeah, so like, come on,
The whole Carl
Knicks
Anthony
fans,
Towns rumor BS.
Knicks fans, you should know better. Stephen A. Smith is not giving you anything that you can't make up by yourself. Like, come on. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Portland has to blow it up. These names that Dame is picking, I feel like Dame's just picking names out of a hat right now. Like, Jason Kidd, really? Like, he hasn't shown anything that he can be a coach that's gonna lead you to a championship if that's your real goal, Damian Lillard. Like, what is Jason Kidd gonna bring to the table? Like, one thing that Jason Kidd is renowned for, besides his, his legal issues, is
I forgot about those legal issues.
yeah, can't forget about those legal issues. But one thing that I will always remember him for is messing up Giannis's jump shot. I,
Oh, oh,
I
you put that on him.
yeah, I want everyone to go watch videos of Giannis in his first year in the league, how he was shooting, and then watch as the years progress under Jason Kidd how worse and worse his form gets. I just want you to take a look at that. Just a little experiment for all the listeners at home. Um, but yeah, do that and then come back to me and then we can compare notes and then we can find out who the real culprit is behind Giannis's disappearing jump shot. But
Nah, I'll have to look into that because I didn't really pay attention to that.
that's something I've always paid attention to very closely, and I put that solely on him. Um, but yeah, Dame isn't serious about winning if those are the two names that he's picking out. No offense to either of those two gentlemen. I'm sure they're doing an excellent job in their assistant roles, and they probably should stick to those roles. But yeah, Dame isn't serious about winning if those are the two names that he's picking. Sorry.
I just think there's nothing for him out there yet. Like I think for Dame to possibly go to a location.
So he's got to be a lame duck then. basically.
Yeah, bro, at least for like that's why he has this say so in the head coach. He's gonna have to be sitting there for at least a year or two because if
That's
he's
tough.
my point, because if he's gonna try to go somewhere after this all season, he of course has to wait to see who the champion is, right? Because I doubt Damian Lillard would go to a team that's already loaded. Cool. After that, then he has to see the different free agents, the different moving parts, see where they go, see how each team money is. Like when you really think about it, Dame can't go nowhere. And that's slightly Dame's fault for picking up a big contract like this, and especially in the length of time. If he decided to go, okay, I'm gonna sign a 2+1 with me having a plus with him having a player option after 2 years, then you could have looked at it like, okay, you put yourself in a position to get money and also flexibility as a player to move around. Yes, you're not that type of player, but you have to look at it as you've been
Nah,
in the same
it's just
position these
loyalty
last.
running through Dame's veins. That's it.
That's
That's
what I'm
all he
saying.
cares
Like that.
about.
That's why that contract is really beastie, and he's like he might be in the same boat as his current teammate in Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo
Oof.
Anthony in 2014 was not supposed to re-sign with the Knicks.
Or if he
I
was,
don't
he
know how
would
you
have
feel.
signed for a shorter deal.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if you remember how that offseason went, but
Yeah, it was
Carmelo
between us and Chicago, I
and
believe.
Carmelo Anthony chose the money. And I'm just like, bro, if you go to Chicago, you're gonna be in playoff contention, playing up against your best friend LeBron James. Let's see how that goes. And of course, Chicago is a big market, so somebody would have came. You would have got some free agent. You would have got some trade, something.
Well, I mean,
But
it was like
no,
him, D Rose, and Jimmy and
yeah, like
Tibbs.
Jimmy. It was when Jimmy was coming up as his own player. That was probably post. This was definitely either after the first ACL tear by D Rose or the second one. But regardless, he was still back as a player. So it's like, all right, the offense isn't on D Rose. It would be more so on Carmelo and Jimmy. But of course, Carmelo did what he did. He was loyal to New York, and it was kind of to a fault because they kind of ruined his career after that. Um, and I hope Damian Lillard, I hope it doesn't go the same way, because when you look at it, they both signed for the money, thinking they could bring riches to the squad, and it might not happen. And now he's like Damian Lillard is currently in his career limbo. Like certain superstars have that point in their career where it's like, okay, do I stay loyal? Do I chase the money and the chips, or do I just chase the chips because the money will come either way because I'm that good? And
Yeah.
and Damian Lillard, as of right now, has chosen the money and the loyalty. Of course, that Instagram post will be broadcasted everywhere, all over the networks. And I mean, that's probably just frustration, because social media brings all that. So he's probably just frustrated and that was one of his ways of voicing his frustration to the world
hmm
and to Portland specifically. But bro, like it's hard. It's hard for a player like that who doesn't cheat us as fans, doesn't cheat the game. He's all about buckets. He's all about getting the job done no matter what. And then his team is going to let him down, or his organization, slightly because of him being in a small market. But this is all Dame's fault in terms of, like, for real, bro. Like owners are not going to try to take on so much money, and it's like, because look, this is my last point before I end my rant. But like, in my comparison to Carmelo, look what happened when Denver Nuggets traded Carmelo Anthony to the New York Knicks. When Carmelo got to that squad, outside of Amari Stoudemire and Jason Kidd, who was really left on that squad for Carmelo to work with once the trade happened? Because after that, it was just Amari Stoudemire and some guys. Landry Fields, yeah. But your core, what made the Knicks at least somewhat competitive for Carmelo to say, okay, let me go over there and see what I could do. They all went to Denver. Like
Yep.
all that supporting cast, Danilo Gallinari and all those guys, all went to Denver. So Carmelo got there and had to run the show more than he was supposed to. and then Amari Stoudemire gets injured a couple times, and that was all she wrote.
Yep.
Um, so it's like, so imagine Dame gets traded by somebody, gets traded to somebody, and all the depth that that team might have had will now be gone when he gets there. So
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of Knicks fans were arguing for today because they're like, "Hey, we trade all our young pieces, and who's Damon? Who's Damon? Randall gonna play with?"
that's what I'm saying. You don't have Damon Julius Randle, like,
And
like,
people are hoping, oh, hey, if Kawhi says, "Hey, I want to come here, but trade for Dame," that's the only time you do it. So
like it's crazy. Like, yeah, like you're only trading the house if you already have a legit superstar or two on your roster. And if you have two superstars on your roster, they're more than likely taking up a lot of money. So you're gonna have to find some extra money somewhere. And it will have to be a big market team. It's not gonna be some small market team that is just hoping for some player to fill the seats. So it's gonna be hard for Dame, and I'm sorry I said it last pod, but he is really in danger of never going back to the Western Conference Finals, like for real. And that, like,
yeah,
it's sad, and it's looking like it, and you don't want it to, because those are one of the Dame is one of my slowly becoming one of my favorite players in the A, specifically point guards. But even though Kyrie is my favorite point guard to watch, and but he's it's sad. You just feel for a guy, because after that 55-point game, it's like, damn, what do I got to do? And every superstar comes to that point. If they don't win early, they're gonna have a performance in the playoffs that they might lose, and it's like, damn, like this is all I got. This is all my squad got. Like, we can't go no further. It happened with LeBron. It happened with KD. It happened with Melo to a little bit. I wouldn't say it happened with Kobe, because he stayed there the whole time and his organization was able to provide. So that's probably one exception. But every other, James Harden, every other superstar in this league has come to a point where it's like, okay, is it me or is it you? And most of the times they say it's the other people. So it's just, hopefully Dame gets it together, or his organization gets it together, or somebody just says, you know what, Dame is big time. Let me come to Portland. But who's really going to Portland?
nobody, and that's always been the issue there. So I mean, hey, if he wants those two bald headed point guards to be his coach, I mean, all power to him. Um, yeah, let's get into some predictions for round two.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So first matchup we got is in the East, Philly versus Atlanta.
Uh, quick series. If okay, so of course there's a stipulation behind this.
Mm,
Um, if Joel Embiid, I don't think it's looking like Joel Embiid might not play game one. It's still probably like up in the air, but I believe that game is tomorrow. Yes, or in a few hours, since today is officially Saturday. But hmm. Okay, depending on how many games Joel Embiid plays, I see this. If Joel Embiid is not playing first game, this might go 6-7. Um, just because I'm looking at what Atlanta did last series, but can they guard Philly? That's to be determined. So if Joel Embiid does not play for a couple games, this goes 6. If Joel Embiid is there from start, I got Philly in 5.
yeah, I got Philly in 5 as well. I just feel like that size is really gonna bother Trey. And I feel like Philly's defense is like our defense was physical, but like they have like even bigger bodies than we do to like
Mm-hmm.
make a living hell for those guys like Trey and like little soft Kevin Herter and John Collins who cries at every screen that those guys get. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta rant about this just for a little bit. Like, these guys, they were crying from the beginning of the series. Nate McMillan was like, "Oh, the NBA favors the Knicks. They're gonna call the games a certain way." Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, he has the free throw king on his team, and then after like the first two games, John Collins and Kevin Herter and them are crying about illegal screens, and their fans are crying about illegal screens, and and they're up 3-1 going into Game 5. and they're still crying about us playing quote unquote dirty while we play physical basketball. I mean, I just can't wait for Philly to snuff them in the mouth so they can have something to really cry about, because they haven't seen nothing yet. Like, this is playoff basketball. Like, just suck it up and just hoop. Like, but yeah, that's my little rant. I hope Philly absolutely wipes the floor with them. I can't wait to see Thibault and Danny Green and Ben Simmons guard Trae Young and all those guys. Like, it's gonna be I hope it's a defensive masterclass. I really do. Um, let's get into probably the best second round series, or probably the best series in general. These playoffs we'll probably see is Bucks versus the Nets.
Oh man, oh man. So Bucks versus Nets is probably what we've been waiting on, or one of the matchups we've been waiting on as fans. We've been waiting on Brooklyn to get properly tested, either by Philly or Milwaukee. So Milwaukee is the first matchup. I think I was kind of torn, at least most times through the season, in saying, okay, which team is the better matchup, fan wise or just regular, that will put up a challenge for Brooklyn. Excuse me. And I always thought it was Joel Embiid, because his ability to play big and draw all of that attention. But Philly seems to be, I don't know, Milwaukee seems to be better equipped to guard them on the wings.
Yep.
In terms of their guards, Kyrie and James Harden. Damn, but I got this going 7. The difference maker will be the matchup of KD and Giannis, because I believe they will be guarding each other this series.
Well, probably more PJ Tucker on KD, but yeah, I could see Giannis getting some
I
reps
was
on him
thinking
too.
PJ Tucker, but we've already seen that KD can take advantage of PJ. PJ can turn it into a one-on-one game. That's how good defensively he is. Like, I've seen him be able to like bait Kevin Durant into taking jump shots he probably
Yeah,
shouldn't be
because
taking, but
he starts to get into KD's legs, and that wears on him during the course of a game and a
yeah,
series.
yeah, we
So,
saw that during those Golden State and Houston battles over the
yep,
years. So, but that matchup of KD and Giannis, I think Giannis is gonna take it upon himself to make sure, like, yo, I'm the reigning DPOY, even though he doesn't always show it. And I need to show everybody that I'm here. Like, this is my 3rd time making a run at the finals, and each time there's some superstar in my way. And this time I will not let it happen. That it will be determined, because Kevin Durant is still Kevin Durant, still a walking 30 ball, no matter what happens. But the key in the series will definitely be Kevin Durant. My prediction, this is hard, because it can go either way, but it could be a smoke session on one side. So, damn, I really, because I want to pick Milwaukee, but they haven't shown enough. And
I
then
got
at the same time, I want to pick Brooklyn, but they haven't been fully tested yet. So it's like, are they gonna cruise through this series as they did last series, or
Bucks in 6.
you got Bucks in 6? Oh
You
man,
know me with my confident predictions. I had Suns in 6. I was right about that. I got Bucks in 6.
I mean, you were right about that because of injury, though, not because of flat out.
Whatever happens, happens. I
You're right.
mean,
You're right. Whatever happens, happens. But mm,
I
mm,
think
mm,
Giannis takes
mm.
this personally, especially against Harden. Harden's been talking a lot of smack about him
For
the
the
last
past
couple
couple of
of
years,
years.
yeah, that is
So
true. That is definitely true. He had a little hot take earlier, but oh man, am I really about to bet against Mr. Easy Money Sniper though? Ah,
I want to see James Harden fold under those bright lights again. So
you know what? I got this going 7. Game 7 is in Milwaukee. No, I
it's gonna
lied.
be in Brooklyn.
Game 7 is definitely in Brooklyn.
That whack ass Barclays crowd,
Yeah,
man.
that Barclays crowd ain't nothing. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
That's not home court.
I'm
So
gonna still try to go to one of their games though, but but I'm gonna go Brooklyn in 7, man. I just feel that KD might pick apart that matchup. I'm not saying I
he
want to see
might,
it.
but
I don't want to see it happen because at this point, you know, my favorite guy out of the playoffs is screw every other superstar in this league. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Mr. Trey 5 easy money sniper. He will be the difference. James Harden and Kyrie will have, you know, subpar games for most of this series as they try to go up against Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker and all those guys defensively. Um, for what I'll say is this: Milwaukee is going to win this series only and only if their bench shows up each and every game. If their bench doesn't show up, and by bench I mean the DiVincenzo's, DiVincenzo's,
DiVincenzo's out.
he did. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, isn't he hurt?
Yeah, he's
Um,
out for the whole playoffs. But
the
like,
whole playoffs. It's the whole
yeah,
playoffs. Damn. So you see, yeah, I see. That's how I know. But
Bryn Forbes, Bobby Portis, PJ Tucker, those guys, they're gonna
yeah,
be key.
they're gonna have they're gonna need to shoot the basketball. Like they're gonna have to keep up with Brooklyn's scoring because you know if Brooklyn don't play defense, they're gonna still shoot the rock. So Milwaukee only wins if that bench can rival, like put up big numbers, 30s and 40s in bench points.
I mean, they did it last series and they did it with ease. And this Brooklyn defense isn't really that hard to score on, at least from like an outsider perspective, looking at NBA players score on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the utmost confidence in guys like Bobby Portis, rugged dog, PJ Tucker, rugged dog. I don't think these guys are gonna be scared of the moment against Brooklyn. So
Copy. I see your take. I'll be watching for real for that to see if you got really Milwaukee in 6. I'm gonna
I
really see.
do. I've
Like
been saying Bucks and 6 for a couple days now.
I don't want to like I am on record of saying this is a different Milwaukee team, but
It is.
they got Brooklyn in the second round. Like that's tough. Like
It is tough, but I got faith in Giannis to make a historic run this year. He
I
seems like he's on a mission, and he's added some tools to his game that people are not paying attention to. Like he's added the 10 to 15 foot range shot,
nah
the
he has.
turnaround basket, the footwork in the paint has improved. Like all that type of stuff. I'm watching. I'm looking to see what guys add to their game over the years. And he's not the same run and dunk man that everyone likes to call him. He's not doing the HB dive anymore.
The HB dive.
He's added tools to his game. So you know.
That's a throwback. Oh man. But all
But
right, on to the next
yeah.
one.
Next one we got is Phoenix versus Denver.
Sadly, my Lakers should be in the spot, but it's okay. I see this going 7.
Yeah, I
Uh,
got it going 7 too.
I can't. You know what? I'm gonna have respect for the team that just beat us, and hopefully Chris Paul is healthy. Chris Paul might go to the Western Conference Finals. That's who I got. I got him in. It could go 7, but I got him in 6.
Yeah, I got Phoenix in 7 as well. I just feel like Phoenix, while they're able to like keep up with that shooting that Denver has, they're also able to play defense, and
Word.
that matters in the playoffs. I know my
Mikal
Knicks
Bridges.
were stouted for defense, but you know they didn't have the offensive firepower that Phoenix does. Phoenix is a top 10 defense in the league for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and they also got the offensive firepower to make sure you pay on that end as well.
One
So,
thing offensively that I saw from Phoenix's series with the Lakers was their ability to hit the corner 3.
yep.
Mikal Bridges really cannot miss from out there lately. Cam Johnson is a threat.
Jay
Uh,
Crowder started getting it on.
I mean, Jay Crowder can do it, but after this series, me and Jay Crowder not really mans. Me and Jay Crowder was never really mans, period. But you know, if he wants to salsa dance all over the court, you know, you got to salsa dance in this next series to show that you're about that, and you're not just a dog that barks only when his team is up. So, um, Phoenix side, DeAndre Ayton is going to be the matchup of DeAndre Ayton versus Jokic. Can he contain Jokic to an extent, or can he at least match him offensively? Because if he can't match him offensively, then Jokic is going to have a field day just passing it around, spreading the offense, creating shots for others. And then on the Denver side, MPJ. Can MPJ take that next step as a young bucket that he is, and prove people why he should have been that number one overall pick in the year that he went, and not drop down to like the fifth, the 14th or 15th pick. And yeah, those are my two keys. For Denver, it's Michael Porter Jr. And then for Phoenix is the ability to shoot the corner three and their big man production. Once if those two teams can do what I just said, then it's an easy 7 games. But Phoenix in 6. Hopefully Chris Paul isn't too banged up, because that right shoulder / neck is still a problem. It still is, but he's able to play through it as the savvy point guard he is.
Yeah, he was mixing dudes with like one arm the other day. I was just like, yo.
like what are you like? How are you doing this with 1.5 arms right now? And now go ahead.
But yeah, I'm looking to see another big series from Devin Booker. DeAndre Ayton's gotta accept that challenge against Jokic. That is a tough task, especially the way Jokic performs in the playoffs. Like I said, every year in the playoffs he elevates his game, so he's got to match that intensity. He's got to bring it every single time he's on the court. And like when they go small, I don't know, because like usually they give Ayton a little rest, and they go small because they don't really have a true backup big. Like usually they'll go like either Saric, maybe they'll bring in Frank Kaminsky, Torrey Craig, Jay Crowder. So they do it by committee. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they do that, because I saw Portland try to do the same thing a little bit, but Robert Covington is not the same type of guy as those guys. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with the minutes that Ayton is not on the court. I feel like those are gonna be important for what Jokic does, and just like got to get out to those shooters on Denver, because Denver, they lit it up against Portland, but Portland's a worse defensive team than Phoenix is, so it's going to be interesting to see that battle there.
Yeah, especially the guard matchup. Campazzo's defense against Chris Paul or Devin Booker is something I also want to look at.
He's going to annoy the hell out of both of them.
Yeah, that's what I want to look at, because the way he annoyed Damian Lillard to a little bit is what I want to see. Can he bring that same energy to two guys that have the same mindset as Dame? I will shoot this rock. Like, I will create separation. Like, if I really have to, I will get this bucket. So I'm gonna look at that as well. That's one more, I guess, possible key for Denver is Campazzo's defense on those two premier guards.
Yep. And last but not least, we got Utah versus either Dallas or the Clippers. We don't know yet, but
yeah, I envision 7 games no matter who it is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, can't pick that winner yet, of course, because one of these teams got to win. But that's an easy 7 games. Utah is literally on the verge of going to the Western Conference Finals, no matter who they play.
Yep.
Hopefully, they keep their groove and bring it into the second round. Whoever, if it's a, I'll say this: whoever comes out of that Clipper Dallas series, is already battle tested, and I've said this on numerous occasions. For a team that is aspiring for championship success, adversity is something you must go through. No matter what round it is, to get to the promised land, you must be able to go through the fire and come out better than you went in. So whoever this is, they're gonna be able to look at Utah and say, why can't I beat you? Like, what makes you think that you're better equipped to beat me than I am to you? You just came out of a quick series. I just came out of a hard fought series. So now when the things get tough, I know what plays I want to go to. I know what things I'm looking for on the court. So whoever comes out of that series is gonna give Utah a run for their money.
For sure. And it's gonna be a shootout regardless, because all three of these teams like to shoot the three, very high volume. Utah and the Clippers especially, they are like two of the teams that take like the most threes, and they were two of the teams that shot like the best from three too. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how those teams match up if it is those two. And then with the Mavericks, they also like to hit a lot of threes too. So we're headed towards some very interesting matchups in the second round.
Beautiful. With most of these big name superstars out, it's getting real basketball savvy in terms of teams scrapping for what they believe they deserve. And all the big names, or most of the big names on the West side, are no longer there. Now these are the teams that have been scrapping all season for their respective spots.
Yeah. All right. I believe that is all we got for today. Ryan, let the people know where they can find you at once again.
Well, you can find us at SwayReportingLive for the podcast. On the personal stuff, Sway Hendrix, Sway HNDRXX. And hopefully you tune in. I'll be having the next episode for my platform in the next week as I record on Monday. So just look out for that.
All right. And for me, you already know all the links will be in the description to the podcast website. Whatever I'm doing on the Knicks site at the Strickland, make sure you follow that on Twitter as well. Always putting out great content. And yeah, that's it.